Hello and welcome to a look at Kennedy Approach for the Commodore 64, a game that was released by Microprose. In this particular title, you take on the role of an air traffic controller who has to make sure that the different planes in your area is heading towards the destination they need to head to, or landing at the airport or airports that you are in charge of. You start the game by selecting a difficulty level, and that difficulty level directly dictates which airport you have access to and which shift during the day you can try to complete. As you can like to imagine, something like New York at the busiest time of day will potentially be a nightmare for an air traffic controller to keep an eye on. Once you've chosen your difficulty and the area you want to try and tackle, you are loaded into the air traffic control screen. And if we quickly go over the interface, you can see in the top left side you have a timer, and that is your shift. Once it reaches the hour, that's the end of your shift. So in our case, it's about 8 minutes and 50 seconds to go. To the right of that, you have your information box, which contains information about the ID of whatever plane might be on the screen. That is the key you need to hit on the keyboard in order to interact with the plane. And of course, the origination and destination will directly indicate where they come from and where they need to go. Not all planes will be taking off from whatever airport or airports you may be in charge of. Some of them are passing through, and you have to make sure that they get to where they need to go without causing any issues on the way. The altitude obviously is how high up in the air the planes are, and if there's a star on that heading thing, that means the planes are landed. You hit the corresponding ID key to, as I said, inside your plane, and then you give it orders depending on what you want it to do. Using the joystick, you can turn right or left in order to indicate to the pilot which direction they need to head to. And of course, up and down will increase or decrease the altitude setting you want them to be at, which is something which is vitally important, of course, because you don't want to have mid-air crashes, and making sure that the planes are separated by at least 1,000 feet or 3 miles is vital in order to prevent such disasters from happening. Once you have selected a plane and pointed it towards its destination, you have to make sure that it exits at the correct altitude, which is 4,000 feet. The real challenge in this game is defined by the failure states, which comes in either you have a total of 45 minutes of flight delay, which may not sound like an awful lot on the low difficulty settings, but once you have multiple planes awaiting takeoff and they get delayed, then you can imagine that timer will quickly ramp up. A second failure state is if you have conflicts for more than a minute. That means that if two planes are on the same altitude and within 3 miles of each other, that will be causing the conflict alert to go off quite extensively. And more than a minute, as I said, and you fail. Allowing a plane to crash or allowing a mid-air collision is also going to get you rather sacked rather harshly. And again, depending on the difficulty, it can be more or less challenging to keep track of everything and make sure that every plane are going to where they need to go and at the correct altitude and all that good stuff. High difficulty levels will allow the game to throw planes at different speeds at you, which of course is always funky because that makes it so much easier to manage. or maybe not. The main game screen is showing the air traffic control map, which has indicators of the various different destinations that planes can travel to and any airport or airports that you are in charge of. You will notice that the map is covered in dots, and those dots indicate a distance of 1 mile. The bright dots are indicating designated flight routes, so if you have a plane that needs to head to a certain destination, it's likely a good idea that it follows that designated flight route. The dots are important for safety distance between planes, but it's also important for when you give a plane an instruction because it will, if you give a plane an order to turn, it will start its turn once it passes the next dot on its path. And depending on the speed of the plane, it may be able to move 45 degrees in one dot's range or 90 degrees, as is the case of the Concorde once you start bumping into those. I don't like making these sub 10-minute videos, but there's not an awful lot to say about this title. It is most assuredly a game that you're going to find incredibly interesting or incredibly boring. And personally, I've always enjoyed playing it. But something that actually dawned on me when I was making this video was the fact that you could probably use this game to enhance or sharpen your concentration and ability to manage multiple different things at the same time. Because having tried it myself, I can guarantee you, if you can manage New York during rush hour for plane traffic, you definitely know that your concentration is absolutely spot on. And on that note, I'm going to allow myself to say thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.